they come out with a flimsy excuse by saying it's the product of the union, the law. We know. We've been outside the law for 12 months. The law says we must cross the picket line. We didn't cross the picket line.
This is Steve Zeltzer with Workweek, and there's been a major struggle over the UPS contract in the Teamsters union, and there was a campaign to pass the contract by the International, which said it was a historic contract. There was some opposition to that contract among rank and filers, and also a vice president of the Teamsters union, John Palmer, who we're going to talk with today, who raised some concerns about the process of the negotiation. And he himself now has come under an attack in the Teamsters union. And I wanted to talk about what's going on, what happened, and what this means for democracy and the rank and file of the Teamsters. Welcome to the show, John.
It's good to be here, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So, John, during the course of the fight over this UPS contract, you and other Teamsters around the country raised some questions about the process, what was going to happen in this contract fight. Why don't you talk about that briefly?
So, we had this supposed reform group that I was a part of that was going to come in and really do things differently in the contract negotiations. We were going to prepare the members for a strike. We were going to hold firm on certain issues. One of the big issues was the $25 an hour for the part-timers, which had been floated by our group as we ran. The replacement or the elimination of some of the tiered work and pay structures. So we were supposedly headed down that road, and we're going to offer all this sort of transparency, bringing people in, rank and filers into the process. And it started with people on the committee being told they needed to sign non-disclosure agreements. All of a sudden, we had what in the last contract was called an information brownout. Members weren't getting much information. There was a lot of PR, a lot of press, a lot of tough talk, and then all of a sudden, boom! They had stopped talking for 2 weeks, and one morning in 45 minutes, they had an agreement, and it was rushed out to the membership. It was sold hard. They put staff out on the grounds. They really pushed this contract. It had money front loaded, which is very typical of a UPS agreement negotiated in the past, and it's sort of like the hook to get you into it. But it never dealt with the real deep issues that I feel and many of the members now are seeing should have been dealt with.
And of course, the issue of $25 an hour. The Kaiser workers now may be going on a national strike on tomorrow, on Wednesday, and you would think that UPS could afford to pay every employee $25 an hour. Apparently, there's still tiers at UPS, and also they're going to use gig workers using their own cars. It seems like the promises that were made to get rid of tiers, to bring in at least a minimum of $25 an hour, were abandoned. Why was that?
I know I certainly didn't think we should abandon that. I think some of the argument is that they call them PVDs, these personal vehicle deliveries, where is that they were going to allow part-timers to do this. The problem with that is a part-timer that's making the new rate 21, half of them don't have cars that are operable. So how are you going to ask somebody, and this is also in peak season where they're out there working long hours anyway. I mean, they're getting a lot of hours anyway because the volume's up. So that issue, the technology issues, I think there's been a flood of news articles, including driven a lot by the company itself, stating how they plan to offset their labor costs with artificial intelligence and other means of production that don't involve human beings. And our language fell really short in those areas.
Well, Sean O'Brien spoke at a rally in California, at Sacramento, around AB 316, which would require trucks to have a driver if they're more than 10,000 pounds. And at that rally, he did say that they'd dealt with the AI and the robotics issue in the negotiations. You're saying that's not true?
The language is that they have to sit down and talk to one another, and I think they could draw it out, and who knows when it'll finally be arbitrated or heard. UPS has said publicly they plan on using these things, and I think again, there's been a flood of recent articles I see where FedEx has robotics that can load these trailers now. Where I just saw the first article today about 2024 being the year that this company is going to have these fully driverless trucks out on the highway. It's the statement the CEO made was that it won't replace everybody immediately. Well, that's like cancer's not going to kill you immediately. I'm not sure that's what we want to do. I think I want to be a little more preemptive than that. And I think we opened the door to, kind of invited this company who's, aggressive and all about making money for their stockholders. And has been very public about what they're trying to do. The drones, they've got the drones now that can deliver packages. They're going to find ways to cut labor costs. They've said so.
And I think that's what AI is all about. The reason the billionaires are investing in AI is they want to get rid of a lot of workers. And have the strike of the writers, SAG-AFTRA, and other workers, teachers, healthcare workers, all face AI. And Goldman Sachs has said that 350 million jobs would be lost as a result of AI. A lot of these are going to be unionized jobs in transportation and logistics. And that's what you and I guess other Teamsters are very concerned about.
Absolutely. And if we were going to dig our heels in and strike, my hat's off to the SAG-AFTRA, and all the folks that had the nerve to strike. Look, striking's not an easy thing, but they stood up and struck over an issue that's going to be the issue of the day for workers in all industries. I also applaud the UAW for standing up as well. I think we missed an opportunity as the Teamsters. The appearance of an inside deal was certainly there.
And of course, the UAW is demanding a 32-hour work week for 40 hours pay because EV vehicles may eliminate 40% of the jobs in the auto industry. I mean, so this issue is not just one union, one industry. It seems like it's in the entire working class. Has there been any education in the Teamsters about AI and automation and what it means to the industry and the workers?
If there is, I certainly haven't seen it myself, but it is an existential threat that we all have to come to grips with. I think, there's a social issue here that, if it weren't for sort of the crazy capitalists that only value money and profit, that we could actually, in a more perfect world, I guess egalitarian would be the term, have a place where people work less and still get paid, that where we reward people and we reward quality of life over, let's be honest, America's kind of embraced this idea of working hard, working long, and making a lot of money. But, the UPS drivers will tell you that they make great money, but they don't get to see their families. I mean, that issue wasn't addressed. They still don't get to see their family. They're working 60 hours a week a lot of times.
And even the issue of air conditioning, I understand Amazon has air-conditioned trucks, but apparently there may be years before they get air conditioning in UPS trucks. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. And, we've had folks down there, remember my local, I think last year, that died in a truck. It's still happening, particularly down here. The hottest summer on record. I think we had 75, 100 plus degree days here in South Texas, where I live. Today, it's going to get to like 94 degrees in October, which is, even for Texas, is unusual. But the inventory trucks that UPS has are they don't have air conditioners in them. They're supposed to put these cooling fans in them. Anybody that knows anything about the heat down here, a fan moves hot air around. And the language says starting next year, we're going to start purchasing trucks. They've got this massive inventory of trucks that are going to be part of the fleet for quite some time. And I would say if you got 5 years left in your career, you're probably never going to see an air conditioner in your truck.
And you raised some of these concerns publicly. You talked about the contract. You talked about your concerns about a democratic process and about really rallying the rank and file, and where the rank and file would have control. What was the reaction by Sean O'Brien and the rest of his supporters in the International Executive Board?
It was less than kind. After I did the interview with you, I received a posse of emails from the entire executive board. Some of them not worth repeating. The language was foul and vulgar, and the idea that we are supposed to sit in that room as a general executive board, hash it out, and come out as a unified front. I'm sorry, that may be the case if you huddle up. I hate to use the football analogy because I'm sick of it, but if you huddle up and play football, that's the case. But this isn't football. This is people's lives, and this is supposed to be a democratic union where people are elected to speak their mind, and you don't have to agree with me, and I might be wrong, but I wasn't elected, and I'll put it, I wasn't elected to goose step with anybody. That's not why I was sent here. I'll certainly accept being wrong when I'm wrong, but I will speak my mind. And I was attacked for 2.5 hours at our last general executive board meeting by vice presidents and trustees and Mr. O'Brien, and I told them I'd had enough of it. I wasn't going to resign. I announced that I was going to run against them. And at that point, Mr. O'Brien attacked me and said that I wouldn't be eligible. So we've opened a whole new can of worms with this.
And this idea that, I mean, you were an elected vice president from the South, and he's telling you you're not going to be eligible?
Yes.
How could that be?
All I know is he has had some of his cronies send out letters to my employer that I'm on a leave of absence with, and has got them to remove me from the seniority roster. There are other sort of repercussions that could take place because of their action. I've been on a leave of absence twice now for over 22.5 years in different places. And never have I had somebody come after me in that manner. There's a lot of evidence there. There are some, I have multiple agencies looking at what they're doing.
And there have been some other threats that rank and file Teamsters have faced. Why don't you talk about some of those? Because if people are afraid, if rank and file workers are afraid of speaking out or challenging their leadership, it's a threat to all workers, isn't it?
I know that there's been a very active member reformer for many, many years in California that has, when he complained about the pension contributions, which were $1 an hour per hour worked. They were reduced to 50 cents per hour worked. And he was challenged by an international vice president, which I thought was rather intimidating. Rank and file members don't have to, he was challenged to a debate. Rank and file members don't have to debate sitting vice presidents. That's just not right. We had a member, I believe, in Florida have an exchange on Facebook with one of our trustees who, used some pretty vulgar language in describing him. And he claimed that it wasn't a $30 billion contract, and lo and behold, the companies out there, Carol Tomei said it is not a $30 billion contract. But members should have a right to express their opinion and not be retaliated against. And I'm disappointed in TDU again. They could speak out about this. They've not said a word to me about what's going on. They've been, again, firmly in the camp of the leadership. I guess a few of their folks got jobs, and that makes everything okay. And they're helping them fill their convention floor.
And it sounds like it's either my way or the highway. And that's Sean O'Brien's position towards you and other Teamsters who are challenging his leadership. How is the union going to change if people like you who are an elected vice president are threatened with retaliation for saying you have a difference about a contract?
We've got to have the intestinal fortitude, the strength to stand up and fight and understand our rights. And I think that's where TDU was really important. It was a place where when people didn't know what to do, they had a resource. And not everybody knows how to fight. I've been lucky enough to have been an agent and a member of TDU and a fighter for, as an organizer too. I understand my way around. We need to empower our membership, and that's been my battle for my whole time as a Teamster. And people need to understand that if we crawl, hide in the corner and allow this to continue, it only gets worse.
And the issue of another existential crisis is Amazon and FedEx, but particularly Amazon, threatening the ability of Teamsters to make a living, which is non-union, Amazon. When Sean O'Brien was elected, he said he was going to make number one task, taking on Amazon. What's happened in the Amazon campaign? It seems like it's faded into the background.
I've been firm on this, and Steve, we've talked about this over the years, you and I, about the collective effort it would take to organize Amazon. And I have my former boss during the Kerry years is involved with Amazonians United. We're not working with these folks, and they want our help. We don't have I'm just going to be really, really frank. We don't have the capability as a union by ourselves, nor does any other union in this country, to take Amazon on by ourselves. We have to work on this collectively. And that's using social groups as well, environmental groups. Every resource, every bow in the quiver has to be pulled out in order to organize these people. The traditional NLRB route is not going to work. We have a hard enough time doing it with employers. Look, I organized the organizers 7 or 8 years ago, and they union busted us, and we never got a contract. So if the union can do it to us, what do you think a multi-billion-dollar company like Amazon can do? I mean, they have more money than, what's that old adage? Carter's got little liver pills, for all of y'all that know how old I am now.
And we're facing a social crisis in this country. There was a threat of the shutdown of the government, which was just averted, which would have put millions of workers out and not paid federal workers. It seems we're going into a very confrontational situation where the working class, the unions and the labor movement, face really a struggle for democracy and basic human rights. It seems like that's off the table in a lot of unions. They don't want to talk about this social crisis, political crisis. Let somebody else, let the Democrats handle that. I mean, you think the Democrats are going to solve our problems in this country?
No. I think anybody who as a student of politics understands that both parties are owned by corporate America. They pander slightly differently to different groups, but when you're left with two choices, and they're both taking money from the same people, and they're basically people that are giving them money or spreading money out on the table in even piles. It's not a good position for working men and women. There needs to be a movement of labor in this country, and I know we've been talking about this my whole lifetime, but we shouldn't be dependent on. It's just like the labor board. You shouldn't be dependent on justice from these two parties. We have to demand it ourselves, and it has to be done through action.
And this attack on you to remove you as an international vice president of the Teamsters Union, what can rank and file Teamsters do and other trade unions who are concerned about your voice being silenced, not just because of you, but the right of democracy in the labor movement?
And I want to reinforce what you just said. This has very little to do with me. It has a lot to do with right and wrong. And look, labor unions are the great hope in this country for working men and women. But when we're corporate. I mean, we have an HR department at the Teamsters. The organizers are trying to organize right now, and they're firing organizers, and they're union busting their organizers again. This is like the fourth time. We were the first to actually win an election, and we still didn't get a contract. If you forget where you came from, and you're enamored with your salaries and your benefits, and the biggest problem in the labor movement are egos and people who enjoy the perks and the benefits of high wages. I think now the general president's lowered since Hoffa, but like 270,000 a year. That we have people in local unions that make more than that, and they won't go to work for the International because they can't make more than the general president. So, but
I mean, I think that's business unionism. It's a business.
yeah, I think so. I mean, straight up business unionism. I think what I see with the membership is the apathy bred through just the shit show that we just went through that they called a contract campaign. The members are seeing it now, and it's a real eye-opening moment. Once again, they throw a little money at you, but the things that matter, the language, the subcontracting, all these things that matter are still there. The company's demanding more production out of our drivers. They're automating jobs. They're if you're working on a conveyor belt, they're screaming at you. They're telling you, look, no one should be yelled at in the workplace. It's uncalled for, especially a union worker.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much for joining us, John. And we want to continue to cover this because, as I said, and you agree, that this is not just about you. It's about democracy, workers' rights, human rights in our labor movement. So thanks for joining us on Work Week.
All right, Steve, thanks again. We'll keep fighting, buddy.